But she was going to kill Nari too, Mama Sad shouted. Look at the spilled wine. She brought poison again. Old Myron nodded slowly. Test the wine, he commanded. One of the young men fetched a chicken from a nearby compound. They poured a small amount of the spilled palm wine into a dish and set it before the bird. The chicken pecked at it eagerly. Within moments, it began to convulse, its wings flapping wildly, foam gathering at its beak. Then it fell silent, dead before their eyes. The crowd drew back as one, the reality of what they'd witnessed settling over them like a shroud. Zira had indeed brought death to Nari's doorstep, wrapped in the guise of friendship. Please, Zira begged, crawling toward Nari on her hands and knees. Please forgive me. I was mad with jealousy. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't breathe every time I saw you together, so happy, so complete. I wanted that. I needed that. And when I couldn't have it, her voice broke. I made sure no one could. Nari looked down at the woman who had been her closest friend, her sister in all but blood. She'd braided Zira's hair on her wedding day. Zira had held her through 2 miscarriages. They'd laughed together, cried together, built a lifetime of memories that now tasted like ash. I forgive you, Nari said quietly, and the crowd fell silent to hear her words. Because holding hatred would make me no different than what you became. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences, Zira. You took everything from me. You stole my future, my happiness, my chance at motherhood. You let me grieve for 3 years, believing the lie while you played the comforting friend. That kind of betrayal doesn't just deserve punishment. It requires it. Old Mirren struck his staff against the ground 3 times, the traditional call for judgment. Zira, wife of Taiwo, you have been found guilty of murder by your own confession and by the testimony of the spirit world. The ancestors have spoken through this sacred vessel. He gestured to Turo, whose eyes still glowed faintly. For your crime, you are banished from Otena forever. You will walk beyond the river at dawn tomorrow and never return. If you set foot in this village again, you will be killed on sight. Do you understand? Zira nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. Take her to the holding hut, Myron ordered. 2 strong men stepped forward, lifting Zira by her arms. As they led her away, she turned back to look at Nari one final time. I'm sorry, she whispered. God and the ancestors know I'm sorry. Nari said nothing. There were no words adequate for this moment, no response that could bridge the chasm between them. She simply watched as her former friend disappeared into the darkness, flanked by guards who would ensure she didn't flee before dawn. The crowd began to disperse, whispering among themselves about the miracle they'd witnessed. The ram who spoke with a dead man's voice, the poisoner unmasked. But Mama Sade approached Nari, her weathered face soft with something that might have been respect. I'm sorry, she said simply, for mocking you, for not understanding. That ram, your ram, is blessed by the ancestors. He was always more than he seemed, Nari agreed quietly. When everyone had gone and silence reclaimed the compound, Nari knelt beside Turo. The amber glow had faded from his eyes, but she could feel Koma's presence still, like warmth from a dying fire. Thank you, she whispered, pressing her forehead against the ram's. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for the truth. Turo's mouth moved, and Koma's voice emerged one final time, so soft only Nari could hear. I couldn't let her take you too. Not you. Never you. What happens now? Will you stay? No, my love. My task is complete. The spirits granted me this borrowed time for one purpose only, and that purpose is fulfilled. At dawn, when they lead Zira beyond the river, I must return to the ancestors. His voice held infinite sadness and infinite peace. But know this, Nari. Death is not the end. Love is stronger than the grave. And though you cannot see me, I will always be near, in the wind that cools your face, in the rain that waters your garden, in the dreams that bring you comfort. I don't want to lose you again, Nari sobbed, wrapping her arms around Turo's neck.
I can't do this twice. You're stronger than you know. You survived my death once, when you thought it was fate. Now you'll survive it again, knowing it was injustice corrected. Plant flowers on my grave, Nari. Yellow ones, like you wore in your hair the first time I told you I loved you. Live your life. Raise Dio if his parents will allow it. Find joy again. That's not betrayal. That's honoring what we had by refusing to let it make you bitter. I'll try, she promised through her tears. For you, I'll try.
They sat together through the night, woman and ram, wife and husband, separated by death, but united by love. Nari talked, remembering their life together, and though Turo couldn't respond anymore, she felt Koma listening. She told him about the baskets she'd woven, the garden she'd planted, the small kindnesses that had kept her alive these 3 years. She told him she'd been scared, but never hopeless, sad, but never bitter, lonely, but never truly alone because his memory had sustained her. Dawn broke over Otena in shades of gold and pink, beautiful and terrible in its finality. Nari heard the commotion at the edge of the village, the guards leading Zira away. She didn't watch. Some endings didn't need witnesses. Instead, she kept her eyes on Turo, who had begun to glow again, not amber this time, but pure white, like sunlight through clouds. The ram looked at her one last time with those impossibly knowing eyes, and Nari saw everything in that gaze: love, gratitude, farewell, promise. Until we meet again, Koma's voice whispered, already fading. Until the ancestors call you home and we dance together under eternal stars. Until then, Nari whispered back. The white light intensified, becoming so bright she had to close her eyes. When she opened them again, Turo was gone. No body, no blood, no sign he'd ever existed except for a small tuft of white wool caught on a thorn bush, moving gently in the morning breeze. Nari picked up the wool, held it to her heart, and finally, let herself weep. Not tears of despair this time, but of release. The truth had been told. Justice had been served. Her husband could rest. In the days that followed, Otena slowly returned to normal. Though the story of the speaking ram spread to neighboring villages and beyond, people came to see Nari, to ask her questions, to touch the tuft of wool she kept in a small leather pouch around her neck. She answered when she could, stayed silent when she couldn't, and gradually, life found its rhythm again. True to her word, she planted yellow flowers on Koma's grave, a riot of color that bloomed even in dry season. She approached Dio's parents about adoption, and they agreed, seeing in her a woman who had faced death and chose life. The boy called her Mama within a month and meant it. Sometimes, on quiet evenings when the wind whispered through the baobab trees, Nari thought she heard a gentle bleating. She would smile then, touch the wool at her neck, and whisper thanks to the ancestors for one final gift, the truth that set her free. Zira wandered beyond the river, they said, into the forest where no village claimed the land. Occasionally, travelers reported seeing a woman there, talking to herself, jumping at shadows, calling out names into the darkness. Whether she lived or died, Nari never learned and never asked. Some stories end with justice, not resolution. Years later, when Nari was old and Dio had children of his own, she would tell them the story of the whispering ram. She would speak of love that survived death, of truth that refused silence, of justice that came on 4 legs and glowing eyes. And she would end the story the same way every time, her voice strong despite her age. The wind may forget a name, but truth never does. Envy is poison that destroys from within, and love, real love, speaks even when the grave demands silence. If this story moved you, remind you that truth always finds its voice, or made you believe in love that transcends even death, then please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more powerful tales that touch the soul, and comment below with your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a truth that refused to stay buried? Share your story with us. Until next time, may your hearts remain true and your spirits unbroken.